She left before sunrise. No fight. No scene. Just a square of paper by the coffee maker that said she'd found someone who could give her the life she wanted. I remember how quiet the kitchen felt. The refrigerator hummed like it knew more than I did. My daughter was upstairs in her crib, just over a year old, sleeping with her fingers curled around a rubber giraffe we couldn't afford new. I read the note twice. Then I flipped it over, hoping for a second thought. Nothing on the back. Tessa had packed at night, fast and neat, the way she folded laundry when she still liked me. She wrote Grant's name like a signature line, Grant Hart, owner of a chain of farm-to-table places I could never afford without a coupon. The paper smelled like her perfume. I kept it anyway. I was 30, a credit analyst at a community credit union. I used to make sense of other people's chaos with a spreadsheet and a pencil. Risk ratios calmed me. Babies don't care about ratios. My daughter woke up and screamed for her mother, a sound that hits bone before brain. I lifted her and walked circles through the townhouse, counting laps like a man doing penance. She cried until she hiccuped. I whispered, "It's okay," even though it wasn't, and warmed a bottle with hands that wouldn't stop shaking. By noon, my brother, Andre, was at my door with a trunk full of baby supplies and the kind of look older brothers wear when they know the punchline hurts. He didn't say "I told you so." He didn't need to. He stacked boxes of diapers in the hall, stuck a magnet nightlight in the outlet, and handed me a list written in block letters. Pediatrician, daycare interviews, car seat check. Then he pointed at the note. "Don't expect her back," he said. I stared at the handwriting, clean and final. "I won't," I said. It felt like chewing glass. That first week, I learned baby math. Bottles every 3 hours. Nap windows that slammed shut if I blinked. Fever at 2:17 a.m., rising to 101. 3 by 2:41. I wrote times on sticky notes, lined them in rows across the fridge like a war map. At work, I ran risk models while texting daycare leads and answering the question, "Any family support?" with yes, but not the kind you mean. I brought my daughter to the credit union at closing to finish files. She slept in a car seat on the carpet while I checked loan covenants. I signed off as fast as I dared and took her home before security cut the lights. On the third Saturday, I stood in a laundromat feeding quarters into a machine that shook like it wanted to leave, the same way Tessa had. The owner, a woman named Rosa, slipped me a free dry cycle and told me to sit. I didn't. Sitting made things feel heavier. I folded tiny shirts and tried to picture a life where I could do this without thinking about nap schedules and overdraft fees in the same breath. A man can get drunk on self-pity fast. I chose coffee instead. Tessa started calling after a month. Not to visit, to say she'd send something. The boxes arrived with silver ribbons and brand names that sounded like small countries. Limited edition toys. A dress that cost more than our weekly groceries. I opened them at the counter, set them beside the note, and felt a clean, surgical kind of anger. Gifts from a distance are still distance. I kept what my daughter could use. I returned what she would outgrow before the next bill cycle. I didn't announce my choices. Silence is cheaper than therapy. Nights were the hardest. My daughter would wake, mumbling "Mama," and then realize the word had no shape in the room. I'd rub her back and talk about nothing. How the rain sounded on the window, how the fridge hummed, how the world didn't end just because one person walked out of it. I told her stories about a lake I remembered from my father, cold water, pine trees, a cabin with a screen door that always slammed twice. I promised her son on that lake. I promised myself I'd find a way to pay for gas. Mr. Keller, the neighbor, watched me carry grocery bags and a baby up the stairs one-handed. He offered help once. I said I was fine. He said, "You don't look fine." I smiled the way men do when they'd rather bleed through a shirt than accept a hand. After that, he left oranges on my doormat now and then. I left them in the fridge next to the note. By winter, I added a Saturday business class at the community college. I told my daughter we were starting a routine. Daycare, bath, bottle, bed. Budget, balance, brief. In the classroom, I drew cash flow charts and told a room of 20-year-olds that simple systems save lives. I didn't say whose. They laughed at my terrible jokes and turned in homework late. I graded papers at midnight while the baby monitor whispered its static lullaby. Sometimes I fell asleep with a pen in my hand and woke up with ink on my fingers like guilt. Every check I wrote felt like a message to the future. I bought secondhand and paid down what I could. I kept the townhouse. I kept the older sedan that sounded like a cough on cold mornings. Pride is free if you earn it. One night, I opened a new folder in my filing cabinet and labeled it Harris Family, Legacy. I slid my father's cabin deed photocopy inside. Then, because it felt right, I slid Tessa's note into a different folder labeled Liabilities. I'm a simple man. I like my lines straight. How do you explain to a child that love can be a luxury product with a price tag she can't see yet? When I finally slept, I had a plan, if you could call breathing a plan. Be both parents. Keep the lights on. Keep my last name clean enough that she could wear it with her head up. I didn't say it out loud, but I started measuring time in a new way, before the note and after. I didn't know then that one day, a different piece of paper would matter more than any gift box on our counter, and that the quiet choice I made that winter would echo down an aisle I never got to walk. The first complaint came from the back seat. Drop me a block away. People stare at your car. My sedan coughed at the light. I said sure. I always said sure then. We'd climbed by inches, small apartment to modest townhouse, thin yard, a maple that shed on schedule. I traded weekends and hobbies for private school and uniforms with rules about socks. By day, I analyzed credit. By night, I graded papers. I told myself that's how you build a life, one careful check at a time. Lila learned differences fast. Our place was cozy, then tight, then embarrassing when friends come. The car was loud. Vacations were what vacations? I explained budgets the way I explained loans. Wants versus what you can carry. She heard wants. I blamed adolescence and kept paying. Rosa watched me buy Lila a treat. Lila took the bag without looking up. Later, Rosa said gently, "She forgot thank you." I shrugged. She's tired. Because it was easier than she's learning I'll pay either way. Mr. Keller noticed late returns, extra trash bags, and donation piles. He saw me haul a desk upstairs and said, "Kids should notice." I said, "She will." He didn't argue. Men on a stairwell rarely do. Andre stayed blunt. "You're giving her everything she wants," he warned. "Careful what that teaches." I said I was giving her what she needs. He said, "That's different." I filed the advice and changed the subject. Jordan became a regular. Carried groceries, wiped counters, said, "Thanks, Uncle D," for a glass of water. Some kids understand cost before they ever touch a bill. Then social media arrived like weather. Pools glowed on her screen. Houses with pretty staircases no one used. "Why don't we go anywhere like this?" she asked. I showed her our numbers: mortgage, utilities, tuition, groceries. She nodded like a student waiting for dismissal. "So never." "Not never. Not now." She sighed like I'd stolen something. Maybe I had illusions. There were bright spots. She won a small branding award. We ate discounted cake with plastic forks. She teased my aesthetic. I said mine was bills paid on time. We took a photo. She posted it and cropped me out. I blamed framing, not feeling. At school events, she corrected my tie and timing. "Don't clap first." I clapped second. Later I heard her tell a friend I worked with numbers, like someone saying kept bees. Her quick laugh stung more than I admitted. "Would you have let it slide?" Rosa drew a line I ignored. Lila added a sugar cereal I'd vetoed. Rosa paused at the register. "On your tab." Lila blinked. "My dad pays." I paid and promised we'd talk. We didn't. Later is how I kept peace with myself. I tried boundaries, cut streaming, bought sale sneakers, said no to a school enrichment trip. She called me stingy. I called it discipline. Tears challenged math. Tears usually win the moment. Math wins the month. Jordan shrugged off her teasing about outlet stores. "Clothes don't change the person in them," he said. Tool wisdom from a 20-year-old. I counted it as an asset. A small signal flashed. She circled a school feature on family backgrounds, asked for impressive history, old money, even a little. I said the oldest thing we had was a lake cabin deed and my father's fishing hat. "That won't photograph well," she said. We laughed, but hers had an edge. The sedan died at a stop sign. She refused the tow and walked the last block to avoid being seen. I watched her back recede. Straps neat, hair perfect. The driver gave me a look that said he'd seen this movie. I tipped too much and called it a story we'd laugh about. We never did. Keller caught me considering a used hybrid I couldn't afford. Buy what you can service, not what impresses neighbors. Neighbors aren't easily impressed, I said. Neither is your kid, he answered. He wasn't wrong. For her 16th, I wrapped a thrifted leather journal and a small necklace with our name, Harris, in simple script. I pictured a thank you that sounded like understanding. She asked if we could exchange it for what everyone actually wears. She posted her birthday photo without the necklace. I put the box away and labeled it for later. There wouldn't be a later. I kept calling it a phase because that word hurts less than entitlement. The numbers were bold. I refused to read them. I laughed too loudly at someone's joke that teenagers always circle back. I repeated it like a spell. Spells don't change trajectory. Work does. So I worked harder, believing I could outpace gravity. The next warning didn't sound like danger. It sounded like opportunity, with a pool and a gate. Would you have seen it for what it was? The brochure looked harmless. Tuition didn't. I took extra weekend classes, 2 nights of tax prep, and 8 in my car. Numbers moved from red to gray. Gray was survival. Lila toured campuses with prestige in her eyes. I toured cost pages with a calculator and bad coffee. She chose a strong program. I decided she'd graduate debt-free. Pride or strategy? Both, and I'd pay. The first payment clicked like a small door locking. I told myself a bigger door would open. Her texts were short. Got it. THX. I saved them anyway. Tessa reappeared. Effortless lunches, photos under soft bulbs, Grant's brick-and-bulb restaurants where menus read like poetry. They showed Lila the house behind the gate. A pool that glowed at dusk. A guest suite with its own key. I scrolled her posts, closed the app, then opened it again like checking a wound. Semesters folded. She learned strategy, branding, operations. She wore the words like a blazer. Andre stayed blunt. You're carrying a piano while she decorates someone else's room. I said it wasn't like that. He let me believe it. Jordan kept Sundays honest. Fixed a leaky faucet. Left a note. Never stayed if I had papers to grade. Respect is quiet. It just holds the door. Senior year, Grant opened doors at headquarters. Just observing, she wrote. Observing became assisting. Assisting became CC'd on decisions. She sounded happy in a way with no place for me. That isn't bitterness. That's inventory. Graduation smelled like hot concrete. I ironed my shirt twice. We took 2 photos. She posted one without me. We were past the age of why. A week later, she came with a list that wasn't labeled a list. I'm moving in with Mom and Grant. Sweet. Pool. Closer to work. Makes sense. Each point was clean, logical, and not about me. Indifference cuts quieter than cruelty. She packed fast. Left a box on the table. Dad's stuff. Inside, our thrifted leather journal, the Harris necklace she never wore, a few photos that didn't match her feed. I ran a thumb over the pendant, then closed the box. Some things sting less in the dark. Tessa arrived in a black SUV, warm voice, soft words. It's for the best. Grant waited with sunglasses, and the engine pointed away from my street. They hugged in the doorway light that flatters exits. Lila didn't look back. Why would she? Her future idled at the curb. The townhouse grew larger by an inch an hour. Absence has a weight you can't bench press. I tried cooking, burned the pan. Tried reading, counted instead. Mortgage, utilities, no more tuition, groceries for 1, maybe 2 on Sundays if Jordan came. Relief and grief shook hands. Mr. Keller left oranges and a note. For the good kind of quiet. Rosa asked if I needed the tab extended. I said no. I don't like tabs without bottoms. That night Lila sent a pool photo at dusk. Caption, big meeting tomorrow. I typed, proud of you, deleted it. Typed, call if you need anything, deleted that too. I sent a thumbs up. Sometimes silence needs a shape. Weeks slid. Holidays became calendar pings. Dinner became maybe, then I'll let you know. I taught, fixed the fence, learned the new quiet. If you don't look at the phone, it doesn't not ring. One evening, I moved the folder Harris Family, Legacy, to the top of the cabinet. Instinct. Or habit. Documents matter more after someone leaves. The pool reflected a different sky. I stayed with mine, the maple out back ticking like a metronome when the wind was right. Peace is a skill. So is denial. I practiced both. Then the envelope arrived. Thick paper, silver embossing, edges you could feel in the dark. Her name in a font that didn't belong to me. I read it twice, steadier than when I once read a note by the coffee maker. My stomach wasn't steady. What do you wear when hope might be a dress code? I met Nolan at a room designed to flatter money. Brick walls, soft bulbs, floating waiters. Grant's logo glowed like a flag. Lila introduced us with that polished, glassy smile. His handshake felt like a business card. Firm, smooth, gone. 7 months later the courier arrived. Thick stock, silver embossing, letters that behaved. Lila Tessa Hart and Nolan Pierce Whitmore. Black tie optional. Optional sounded like a dare. I took it as an olive branch and booked a fitting. The tailor spoke in calm geometry. Charcoal suit, quiet tie, shoes that won't squeak. Make the suit say steady, I said. He nodded like he'd heard that prayer before. At home, a new budget tab. Wedding. 2 months of base pay. I shifted categories, added adjunct hours, traded sleep for pride. The gift found me. A small jeweler near the courthouse. Diamond accented studs, clean bezel, built to last decades. Layaway made sense. I slid the first payment and kept the receipt like a secret. Andre approved the suit with a single nod. Jordan said I looked like a CEO who remembers birthdays. Mr. Keller saw the garment bag. Big day? Walking my daughter down the aisle, I said. Saying it steadied me. Rosa tossed in a free coffee and told me to smile with my eyes. I practiced, in mirrors, in traffic, between classes. I rehearsed the steps. 1, 2, breathe. 3, 4, don't hurry. Hand off, then dignity. Andre found my father's cufflinks and polished them until the silver woke up. I tucked them in a case and checked the latch twice. Group emails arrived, seating charts, parking maps, registry links where even spoons had biographies. Tessa messaged about keeping the aesthetic refined. When I asked about the rehearsal, she said, Lila will be in touch, and paused. I labeled the pause draft under door and told myself it was nothing. I made the last layaway payment and held the earrings. They felt heavier than they looked, like certain truths. I asked for a tiny L engraved on the box hinge, not the metal. Tastes change, boxes last. On Saturdays, Jordan helped with the tie knot. Short speech, he asked. 1 sentence, I said, and slid a card into my wallet. Thank you for letting me be your father. 2 days out, the barber wrapped me in warm towels and straight razor comb. Groom, he asked. Worse, I said. Father of the bride. Big leagues, he grinned, squaring my sideburns like precision mattered. The venue coordinator showed me where fathers start, pointed to a polished square of floor. I stood there and remembered midnight bottles, sticky note battle plans, and laps with a crying child. I closed my eyes and pictured her hand on my arm. Not a reward. A line we'd finally walk together. Rehearsal photos hit my phone, river at dusk, place cards in confident ink. I zoomed. Saw Lila. Saw Nolan. Saw Tessa and Grant. No rehearsal for me. I was home steaming a suit. She texted, almost here. I typed, proud of you, deleted it. Typed, call if you need anything, deleted that too. I sent the thumb I hated. Sometimes silence needs a shape. Mr. Keller left oranges, for the good kind of quiet. Rosa asked if I needed to extend the tab. I said no. Tabs without bottoms make liars of decent men. The suit came home flawless. The tailor dusted my shoulder with chalk that wasn't there. You'll do fine, he said, like the danger was tripping. The real danger was remembering everything at once. Night before, I laid out the white shirt, cufflinks, tie, and that small card. I fetched the earrings from behind the winter gloves and traced the little L on the hinge. I pictured opening the box after the ceremony, just us in a quiet corner. Her eyes softer than the photos. Me seen for what I'd been, not what I wasn't. How hard can it be to walk straight, breathe, and let go? 4 days before the wedding, my phone lit with her name. The hour was wrong for small talk. Keys still in my hand, I answered in the doorway. Dad, she said, exhaling months. There's something we need to discuss. For days before the wedding, her call landed like a gavel. Grant would walk her down the aisle. For optics, I'd sit as a guest, back table near the exit. Nolan's family is status conscious, she added. I can't risk awkwardness. I drove to the gate anyway. Tessa opened with a hostess smile. Air conditioning made everything feel inevitable. Grant hovered in the background, volume set to power. Lila came downstairs in silk and certainty. I kept it simple. I'd raised her, bottles, fevers, tuition, the quiet work that doesn't photograph. I expected the aisle not as a prize, but a line we'd earned together. Tessa tried diplomacy. This isn't personal. Grant's nod said rooms matter more than roots. Lila delivered her decision like a slide deck. She was a professional. Image mattered. Grant represented the world she moved in. I represented a townhouse, Night classes, a winter coughing car. Dad, you'll enjoy the ceremony more without pressure. On the console, the invitation flashed silver. Lila Tessa Hart. When did that become legal? 6 months ago, she said, bored with the detail. Overdue. 6 months wearing a new name through my kitchen without saying it. Why? I kept my tone level. Hart opens doors. Harris makes people ask questions I'm done answering. Not a knife, an approval stamp. Tessa softened. Daniel, it's branding. You understand branding. I do. I also understand cost columns. Lila continued. Tidy as a ledger. I'd sit with community friends. Grant would toast mentorship and family values. She'd appreciate me keeping it low-key. That's one way to spell erased. I didn't argue optics. You never win a mirror with a speech. Grant's smile was managerial and purchased. He had receipts, graduate funding, internships, introductions. So did I. Grocery lists and midnights. I steadied a tremor against cold stone. I pictured my father's cufflinks, the earrings hidden behind winter gloves, the tiny L on the hinge already turning into a joke. Thank you, I said. For the clarity. 3 exhalations. Tessa's relief. Grant's approval. Lila's posture letting go a half-inch. 1 courtesy. 5 minutes alone with my daughter after the ceremony. We'll see how timing goes, she said, already scheduling my goodbye. At the door I audited, not pleaded. Do you understand what the Harris name built for you? I understand what the Hart name can do for me now. That closed a book. Outside, hedges sliced the sunset into neat panels. Sprinklers hissed like private laughter. On the drive, the suit bag rode shotgun like a silent witness. At home, the cufflinks waited. The one-sentence note waited. The earrings waited in the dark. Objects are patient. People aren't. In the mirror at a red light, I saw the look men wear when the floor moves and they decide not to. Back in the townhouse, the air felt honest, warm, a little worn, full of things with names. I hung the suit, set the shoes, placed the cufflinks on the dresser, card on top. Then I opened the filing cabinet. Top drawer, left rail. Harris family, legacy. I didn't touch the papers. You never rush a clean decision. The refrigerator hummed like an old friend. I let the tremor finish and noted the difference between light and empty. What would you do when your name becomes someone else's costume? I turned off the kitchen light. Tomorrow I'd visit no boutiques, ask no permissions, make no speeches. I'd choose something simple, signed in ink, immune to lighting and applause. I slept the way men sleep before an audit. Eyes closed, ledger open. I woke clear. No anger. Just a list. Attorney Patel's office sits over a bakery that opens at 6. Yeast and paper. Good air for hard decisions. I took the stairs. I didn't need ceremony. I needed ink. Patel greeted me with measured warmth. She's handled my parents' trust, my insurance, the cabin deed with the door that always slams twice. She asked if we should wait until after the wedding. No, I said. Waiting is where men lose clarity. We started with the trust, conservative fund my parents built for a granddaughter. Current value, around 170. On my dad's memo line. For a Harris girl. Patel tapped the file. You've listed Lila Harris since birth. Keep it. I pictured the silver-edged invitation, the new name catching light. No, I said, steady. Beneficiary, Jordan Harris. Backup, Andre. Reason, custodial judgment, family legacy. Not Lila as secondary. Patel asked. Names are choices. So are consequences. Next, life insurance. 20 years laddered and converted. Benefit, about 130. We moved Lila out, Jordan in. Andre secondary. If both go, a small scholarship in my parents' names. Regrets? She asked. Only that this conversation exists. The cabin followed. Title me. Size, small. Honest. Rain sings on the roof. I had planned to transfer on death to Lila as a quiet wedding gift. We retitled TOD to Jordan. He understands what it is? Patel asked. He says thank you for tap water, I said. We reviewed the will. Clean bequests, executor instructions simple enough for a checklist. I added a sealed letter. Plain language about what a name should carry, not polish but weight. Patel will hold it. She slid a final acknowledgement across the desk. No cooling off period, only reality. I signed. Ink dries faster when you mean it. The copier hummed. Her notary stamp thunked like a small gavel. My father would have liked that sound. Notify Lila? She asked. Not yet, I said. We'll let reality speak. Patel made a note I didn't need to read. I left with a brown envelope and my name handwritten. Harris neat, centered. On the sidewalk, the morning felt brighter, not lighter. There's a difference. I bought 2 coffees, left one for Patel. Prepared people carry stationery and spare gratitude. It's not old-fashioned. It's respect. Home, top drawer, left rail. Harris family, legacy. I slid new documents to the front. The folder looked heavier. Good. Important things should make drawers work. I lifted the earrings from behind the winter gloves and studied the tiny L on the hinge. Not her initial anymore. Not my problem to fix. I set the box beside the cufflinks and the one-sentence card, then closed the drawer. Some gifts become documentation. Some documentation becomes peace. Andre answered on the second ring. I gave him the ledger version, no drama, just facts. He didn't cheer. He said, "About time you stopped paying for someone else's branding." Then, dry as salt, he asked who I listed as secondary if he beats me to the exit. "You," I said. "Good," he said. "I plan on being annoying a long time." Jordan texted about Sunday, if I needed a hand with anything. I told him a deck board was loose. I didn't mention inheritances. You don't make money the headline for the person who already gives respect for free. Tessa emailed about boutonnieres and keeping the aesthetic refined. I archived it under a folder named Noise and confirmed parking like a man checking weather. Logistics are neutral. Some words aren't. I ate standing up. Cheese, crackers, an apple that tasted like a good choice. I ironed the white shirt because habit is a spine when other things go soft. I rolled the cuffs. The silver woke under light. By evening, the maple ticked against a patient sky. The refrigerator hummed like the day Tessa left. Same sound. Different man. I slept well. No speeches, no rehearsed smiles. Just a sentence I decided not to say. "Thank you for letting me be your father." I kept it in my wallet anyway. Not for her. For me. In the morning, I would take the seat they gave me, watch the aisle I didn't walk, and carry my posture like a promise. The folder in my cabinet would do the talking I'd stopped trying to do. "Would you have signed before the music started?" I kept my seat in the back row and my posture. Grant walked the aisle. Cameras loved him. I left before dessert. The earrings stayed in the drawer. Silence rode home and slept well. After that, I practiced not looking. No more scrolling past pools or captions. I taught nights, fixed the fence, and learned the work of stillness. Peace is labor too. Emma arrived in my Tuesday class, accountant, mid-40s, questions straight as plumb lines. Coffee became dinners, dinners became ease. She liked the small kitchen and the maple shade. I liked gratitude without costume. Then the call no one schedules. Andre's heart stopped on a gray morning. The service filled with people he'd helped without invoices. I spoke 12 words and sat. Jordan's hand on my shoulder held the house in place. Sundays formed themselves. He showed up with donuts or nothing, both correct. He fixed squeaks and left notes, tightened hinge. Watch for drift. Respect doesn't make speeches. It repeats. I stopped telling him he didn't have to help. He stopped thanking me for what he'd earned. We watched bad football and better weather. He asked for advice like checking torque. I gave him receipts, cash flow, tell the truth on paper. On his 22nd, a quiet booth and a brown folder. I laid out the ledger. A conservative trust my parents built for a Harris girl. Life insurance I'd laddered and nursed. A lakeside cabin with a door that always slams twice. Ink had moved in Patel's office after a name moved at the county clerk. Now, trust to Jordan, insurance to Jordan, cabin when I'm done using it. No drama. Numbers, dates, control. He didn't reach for the folder. He reached for my hand. "You've already given me more than money," he said, voice low. He didn't ask why him. He knew. Names matter when you carry them like work, not jewelry. I added conditions that weren't legal but would outlive paper. Keep the Harris name clean. Keep Sundays if you can. Keep the cabin honest. Cold water, windows open, phones away. He nodded like a man signing a promise no one else could see. "Does Uncle Andre know?" he asked. "Secondary beneficiary," I said. We laughed for the first time since the funeral. At home, the refrigerator hummed like it did the day Tessa left. Same sound. Different man. Emma poured tea and listened. She didn't call it generous. She called it correct. I slept like a balanced ledger. Lila became a calendar item. Trimmed holiday texts. Polished angles. No depth. I kept replies spare. Health. Work. Weather. Boundaries make small talk safe. The townhouse shifted without announcements. A new coat of paint, a fixed step, Emma's toothbrush beside mine. Jordan's spare key in a dish, metal against ceramic, a good sound. We didn't say family. We did it. Would you have told him then, or waited for the perfect moment? On a quiet Thursday, Jordan sent a link. Industry trends sliding. Restaurant margins thinning. Over-leveraged brands coughing in public. I read it and closed the tab without smiling. The line between successful and ordinary was moving. If you listen for strain, you hear it before things break. The first optimization came as a cheerful press release. 2 closures, then 3, then 6. The map looked moth-eaten. Jordan sent links, facts first. Margins thinning. Brunch down. Delivery apps taking a house cut. Leverage that sparkled in boom time now screamed in red. I didn't gloat. I mowed the yard and taught cash flow. On the board I wrote 2 words, fixed costs. The room nodded like a church. None of them met payroll yet. Lila's feed dimmed. No pool at dusk. A careful crop. Her hand on a wheel, cloth seats, no emblem. House is listed, Jordan said soft. Quietly. Pre-foreclosure. Probably. Bridge loan backward. You can manicure hedges. Not a balance sheet. Emma and I moved like careful people, one clean decision at a time. She shaved interest from my mortgage. I added insulation, replaced the water heater, fixed the step that caught my heel. The house started to sound like trust. Sunday state hours. Pasta, repairs, and no speeches. Jordan walked me through condo numbers. Half down, same payment, cushion intact. We toured 2. One tried too hard. One had morning light that did therapy's job. At closing, he signed like a man promising his future self. I bought pizza and held a level when asked. I can do straight, I said. I know, he smirked. Back home, I touched the folder I'd made heavy. Trust, insurance, cabin, a sealed letter without adjectives. Emma leaned on the door jamb. You good? I am. Then let's make it official. We married at noon with paperwork and dinner after. Her toothbrush beside mine felt like a scheduled sunrise. The townhouse absorbed her quietly, the way good houses do. Vendors began posting about temporary delays. A lender filed something public. I didn't click. I could hear the frame groan. At the gate, I saw a white notice stuck to the door like a bandage. Perfection is cheap if you ignore context. I felt no triumph. Only the memory of a rubber giraffe and a note by a coffee maker. Pain ages into discipline if you let it. Discipline doesn't celebrate collapse. We kept our lane. Shorter-term refi, modest bathroom tile Emma called future-proof. Cheap courage, I shrugged. She laughed. Jordan brought Emma a plant. Low light, hard to kill, and asked if the doc could host someone someday. Bring someone who respects splinters, I said. He laughed like a man mapping a future. Rooms forget you fast. I passed the glass and stone hall. New logo, same bulbs. I watched other fathers adjust ties with a good kind of trimmer, then went home and fixed a hinge. Rosa bagged my milk and whispered, "Funny how tables turn." Not funny, I said. Physics. Would you have called to say I told you so? I didn't. I cooked, walked, slept. Sometimes winning is nothing happening to you. Then, late Friday, the phone lit with a name I hadn't spoken in months. I let it ring once, twice, 3 times, and answered. Past midnight, her name lit the phone. I let it ring 3 times, then answered. Words came in fragments. Grant's restaurant's gone, vendors angry, lender took the pool house. 2-bedroom walk-up, thin walls, flooded lot. Night shift on phones. Nolan's hours cut. She needed a loan. Just a few months. Blood, history, father. I stood in the dark kitchen, palm flat on the counter I own. The refrigerator hummed its old, patient note. I let her talk until sentences formed. I don't decide in minute 1. I let silence count. Then the voice I use for auditors. Calm, steady. I remembered the back table near the exit. Keep it low-key. Grant on the aisle. A legal name change filed 6 months before the vows. She called weddings theater. I said I read contracts literally. She said she was young. I said so was I at 2 a.m. Warming bottles. Cruel, she said. Clear, I said. Bargaining showed up wearing 2 outfits. Tears and math. Weekly payments. Interest. Whatever I wanted on paper. Would you have bought a month of peace? I told her no. Not angry. Clean. She went quiet. I could hear a neighbor's TV through drywall. Dad, she tried. Then, Daniel. Neither moved the ledger. She asked why I'd become a man who didn't care if his daughter ate. I told her I cared, and I remembered. There had been a conservative trust my parents built for a Harris girl. A life insurance policy I laddered through lean and fat years. A small lake cabin with a door that slams twice. All three once lined up with her name in careful print. There was, she whispered. There was, I said. What happened to them? Nothing happened. They became what they were meant to be. So you kept them? No. I gave them to the person who honored the name that held them. Jordan. Yes. The nephew. The son who never hid where he came from. She called it theft. I called it stewardship. She argued fairness, blood, history, checks I wrote, nights I walked. I said true, and said this too. When she erased Harris for heart, it wasn't ink. It was exit. The memo read for a Harris girl. She changed the variable and kept walking. Jordan didn't. Low blow, she said. Accurate, I answered. Accuracy feels low when it lands on ground you chose. She cried, the hard kind. For a minute, I wanted to buy a different ending. Then I pictured teaching the wrong lesson twice. Paying to hit snooze doesn't wake anyone. Does Jordan know? He knows enough. He doesn't gloat. He brings donuts or nothing and fixes squeaks. Must be nice to be favored. Must be nice to be favored by your choices. I gave her what she really needed, a straight no to bridges and quiet wires. And practicals. Call the credit union. Show the math to the landlord. Sell what still has value. Avoid predators. Sleep before deciding. Panic spends badly. She exhaled. Okay. Not agreement. Exhaustion. Then softer. Okay. We sat in the line between two lives. Hers narrowing, mine steady. Thanks for answering, she whispered. No one else did. You're welcome, I said. True and insufficient. Then the question that always shows up when money leaves a room. If I change it back, if I become Lila Harris again, do the things with my name change? I closed my eyes and saw a rubber giraffe, a note by the coffee maker, and a man counting laps through a dark hallway. I saw the silver-edged invitation and a console table flashing a name that wasn't mine. You're asking the wrong question, I said. What fixes this? She pressed, voice controlled again. Coordinator hunting a deliverable. Fix is a future verb, I said. This is past due. Would you have hung up? I didn't. I pointed at the path that hurts and works. Cut burn. Second jobs. Call creditors first. Long terms, plain English. Then sleep. Not because it pays bills, but because fatigue makes liars and spenders of decent people. Before we ended, she tried one last time, almost gentle. If I file the paperwork tomorrow, if I become Harris again, do those things come back? I let the stamped envelope sit between us, undelivered. Sleep, I said. We'll talk tomorrow. We didn't set a time. She didn't ask for one. I put the phone face down and watched the window until the dark finally looked like dark. In the drawer, the heavy folder didn't move. Papers don't. People do. The house settled. The refrigerator kept humming. Old, patient, right. Morning wouldn't be kinder. It would be clearer. Morning came colder than the forecast. My phone buzzed on the counter, face down. A text. Then another. Lila asked if I meant it. If changing back would change anything. I poured coffee and let the steam erase the first answer from my face. I called. No adrenaline left. Just clarity. I told her the paperwork wouldn't move for cosmetics. Not now, not later. It wasn't ink. It was choices. She went quiet the way a room goes still after the power cuts. Then she said she understood. I said I hoped someday she would. I also told her something final, the sentence I'd avoided for years. She was not part of my family anymore. Not because of blood, because of conduct. Names don't make families. Behavior does. She breathed in like a swimmer who misread the shoreline and whispered, okay. The line clicked. The house held. That night, dinner with Emma and Jordan. Warm plates. 2 candles we light on purpose. I told them what I'd said. Emma touched my wrist like you steady a glass near the edge. Jordan didn't cheer. He nodded once and called it correct. His word, not mine. Correct. I slept without rehearsing what I'd tell anyone. There was nothing to say. Silence is also a statement. Months unspooled like measured rope. Emma and I finished the bathrooms with tile that won't need an apology in 10 years. Jordan sent photos of morning light across his new kitchen, the kind you earn. Sometimes I'd stand at the filing cabinet, open the top drawer, and look at nothing. Just feel the weight of the folder I made honest. Then Jordan asked me to coffee and showed me a ring he'd saved for, quietly, like a man counting breaths on a cold day. He didn't speech it. "She's the right person," he said. "Steady heart, steady feet." He asked my thoughts the way he asks about torque. I told him one rule: don't propose hope, propose a plan. He smiled. Already of both. They married small. Right people, right vows, right room. Two things happened the week before the ceremony. First, I took my father's cufflinks from their case and polished them until the silver woke again. Second, Jordan asked me for a favor in a voice that knew I'd say yes. He wanted me to walk his bride down the aisle. Not because there wasn't anyone else. Because there was, and she still chose me. That's a different kind of honor. It doesn't glitter. It grounds. I ironed the same white shirt. The suit still fit. Emma fixed my collar and said I wore ease better than I used to. On the dresser sat the earrings I'd once hidden for Lila. Clean bezel, quiet shine, tiny L on the box hinge that meant nothing and everything. I brought them anyway. The venue was a brick hall with light that behaved. No brand banners. No speeches pretending to be love. I stood with the bride in a quiet alcove where the floor creaked like truth. She told me I'd been a father longer than I knew. I didn't argue. We counted to 4. We stepped. Walking that aisle felt like finishing a long, patient math problem. Every small number finally in the right place. At the front, Jordan's eyes carried the calm I'd tried to teach. I handed her hand to him and stepped back with dignity. Simple. Correct. Whole. After the vows, I found a corner without photographers. I opened the small box with the lettered hinge and placed the earrings in her palm. I didn't tell the story attached to them. Stories can turn gifts into debts. I just said they were meant for the woman who honored the name that would hold them. Her eyes said she understood without demanding footnotes. The toasts were short and used real words. Jordan thanked people who'd shown up on bad days, not just glossy ones. I didn't speak. Men who finally get the right aisle don't need a microphone. Later, outside under steady bulbs, he pulled me close like sons do when they stop pretending they're too tall for it. "Thank you," he whispered, not for money, not for documents. For showing him how to stay when staying felt small. I said what I'd written years ago on the card I never gave. "Thank you for letting me be your father." He laughed, the sound decent men make when a truth lands clean. Time did what time does when you stop fighting it. It made room. Emma and I drove to the cabin in early fall, lake flat as I held breath. The screen door still slammed twice. The roof still sang when rain started. We painted the dock and didn't fix the spot where it dips. Imperfections keep a place honest. One evening, Jordan and his wife sat with us on the steps, feet cold, hearts warm. He cleared his throat like a man about to read numbers he likes. They were expecting a child. A boy. They wanted to name him after my father. And he would carry the Harris surname. The maple at home would have approved. The water did instead. Emma squeezed my hand hard enough to move bone. I stared at the lake until the reflection matched the sky. Would you believe peace can be loud? It can. It roars quiet. A month later, I got a message with an ultrasound and 3 unpunctuated words. "See you, Grandpa." I saved it next to a photo of a rubber giraffe from years I survived on coffee and small victories. The folder in my cabinet didn't change, but its echo did. Legacy isn't money. It's the instructions that outlive you. I heard about Lila through someone else's update. A new job with a title that earns its own sigh. A different apartment, quiet street, no covered pool. No call came. I didn't expect one. Boundaries are fences that keep honest animals safe. Every so often I walk past the glass and stone hall where I once counted steps I never took. New logo again. Rooms forget you on purpose. I nod at the fathers adjusting ties with hands that shake for the right reasons and keep moving. At night the refrigerator still hums the note that saw me through. The house smells like soap and lemon oil and dinners that didn't require debt. On the mantle, a small frame with a photo from Jordan's wedding. No cropping. No angle games. Just faces that stayed. I kept the Harris name. I carried it when it was heavy and when it made me invisible. It carried me back. Sometimes justice is nothing dramatic. It's a steady ledger, a quiet aisle, a family that shows up on Sundays. And when the house goes still, I hear it. Not triumph, not thunder, just the sound of a life balanced. I slept.